Welcome to another Numismatic Notes with Benjamin. This is the middle of the week for celebrating Thanksgiving here in the United States, and I have some time, and I thought I would try to carry off my very next video. The topic of today's video is fancy banknote prefixes. You often see people talking about fancy banknote serial numbers, but there's also fancy banknote prefixes, and I certainly enjoy whenever I get a note and have them, and I thought I'd share an assortment of them with you. I have more Scottish than I do any others, but I have these grouped by nation, and I have enough from around the world that this shouldn't very much be an exclusive Scottish video. So let's go ahead and get started with this Trinidad and Tobago polymer banknote. This banknote is issued for the central bank's 50th anniversary, and if you look at the serial number both here and here on the side, you can see that it starts out with the prefix CB, which stands for Central Bank. It really is that simple, people, and so little makes me very happy. The next note I have to share with you is of Northern Ireland, and this is a £5 note that honors George Best, and that's why you have a serial number here and here that start with the prefix GB for George Best. The next note I have for you is special in a way, but not because of a prefix that's a unique number, but this is because the first couple of hundred, or the first, I don't know, the first printings of the notes in this current family of banknotes from Bermuda, instead of having a unique serial number, had a picture of a Bermuda onion. So the prefix is a Bermuda onion. So how about that? I think that's always going to be one of my favorite prefixes that can be found on a banknote. I get a kick out of it. Let's move to South Africa. And this may or may not be a fancy prefix, but it was issued on the occasion of the centennial of Nelson Mandela. And so the prefixes for me were SA, and that stands for South Africa. So I don't know if that's really a commemorative or a fancy serial prefix or not, but it's kind of neat to have that prefix on a banknote of South Africa. Following that is this lovely $10 celebration of the Reserve Bank of New Zealand. In this time period, New Zealand commemorated the Treaty of Waitangi, and it was a significant treaty in New Zealand. And you can see right here the TNZ, which I believe stands for the Treaty of New Zealand. So kind of an interesting commemorative note and an interesting prefix. A lot of these deserve their own unique video, and I would go into more detail whenever I do have the opportunity to make a video of those notes. Go ahead and click the like and subscribe button so that you can receive automatic notification when banknotes like that are put into videos, or when I have new themed videos that are issued. This is a commemorative 50 zloty from Poland, and it commemorates Pope John Paul II. You can see the keys, you can see the Pope and his regalia, and you can see in the serial number JP, which stands for John Paul. Kind of a neat note. And I would assume, although I can't tell you for sure at this moment, that most of the commemorative notes of Poland would have a similar commemorative prefix. We're moving to Papua New Guinea, which has tons of commemoratives, and two I have pulled out for this video actually. I'm not going to say they represent all of them, but they are kind of interesting. This banknote, which commemorates, it's a 20 kina, and it commemorates the Bank of Papua New Guinea, and I believe it commemorates the 15th or the 35th anniversary. And if you look here, the prefix says BPNG, which stands for Bank of Papua New Guinea. And I think that's pretty neat. Now, this note I thought was one of the longest prefixes I'd ever seen, but I since discovered that it was just a unique number. So take a look at this 5 kina note commemorating the millennium year, or the year 2000. You have Papua New Guinea, PNG, and then it has 2000. And I thought, oh my God, that's pretty impressive. That's a very impressive prefix. But I've seen this note with with much more numbers here. So I think I just lucked out and got a banknote that that was one of the 999 that would follow the year 2000. So I'm pretty happy. It's kind of a fancy number, and it goes nicely with the subject of the note and the prefix, which is Papua New Guinea, year 2000. Now we're moving on to a country which is sheer genius when it comes to unique serial numbers or serial number prefixes, and I can't wait to share them with you. They are, of course, Scotland, and most of my banknotes that I collect and have are actually from the Royal Bank of Scotland. And we have the bewigged Lord Ely, or Ely, I don't really know how to say his name, and he's been dead for some time, so I'm sure he's no longer offended by my mispronunciation. But this particular pound commemorates the European Summit in Edinburgh, and it has the prefix EC, which stands for European Community. So that's kind of a neat note. And the only thing commemorative about this note is the inclusion to the left of the stars of the European Union. The next note is also from Scotland, and it is a £1, and it commemorates the first meeting of the Scottish Parliament, which is commemorated with this text here. And in the serial number, we have SP, which stands for Scottish Parliament. It really is that simple, folks. Such tiny things are so meaningful to me. Let's move on to the next commemorative from Scotland that I have. It commemorates Robert Louis Stevenson. You see a feather pen and a book and the years of his birth and death over here. And you have Robert Louis Stevenson, RLS, as the prefix. The back of the note is one of my first commemorative banknotes that I ever recall getting. And it's fascinating because you have the portrait of the man, a compass rose, vignettes from his literature, and here you have the home he built in the Samoas that now serves as government house and also appears on banknotes of Western Samoa. So that'd make a nice little video sometime, and I'll have to consider doing that. Let's move on to another Scottish pound commemorative note, this case belonging to Alexander Graham Bell, the inventor of the telephone. The year of his birth and death over here, and an early telephone exists on this note, along with the serial prefix AGB for Alexander Graham Bell. Now, what I like about this note is there's also interesting vignettes that don't always appear on a banknote. Over here we have a mock-up of the first earpiece that transmitted sound. We have the gentleman here. We have cell phones, computers, walkie-talkies being used over here. We have somebody finger spelling right here because, he did this work and had a lot to do with deaf and hearing concerns. And so here's an old couple. Looks like they're talking. Some geese, some sound waves. And I have no clue what this is here, but it looks interesting. I'm sure it says Alexander Graham Bell because underneath it in tiny writing it says Alexander Graham Bell. But I have no idea what that alphabet is, and I would love to know a little bit more about it. And that seems to be his signature over there. If anybody can enlighten me, let me know. This is a banknote that is definitely worthy of its own video. Hey, guess what the next note is? That's right, it's from Scotland, only this time it's a £5. This note commemorates Jack Nicholas. In fact, the JWN stands for Jack William Nicholas. And here you have a bear inside a ring with the name Nicholas. And on the back of the note, you have Jack Nicholas with a trophy, swinging a club. And you see, that's probably St. Andrews over there. And you see some stats over here. Other than that, it's a commemorative note. It really doesn't mean that much to me because there are slower ways to kill me than to get me on a golf course and have to function. Sorry about that. That topic is worthy of its own video. Now let's move on to this other Scottish £5 note, which commemorates the Ryder Cup. I don't know why I have all these golf commemoratives, but nevertheless, I do. This commemorates the, I thought it commemorated The Ryder Cup in Edinburgh. In fact, you see RCE Ryder Cup. There's a semblance of the Ryder Cup right there, and there is a polymer window. This note is actually considered to be a hybrid with a see-through window. And on the back, a beautiful view of the Ryder's Cup, some buildings, and a golf course, and a flag. Would make a great exhibit for an American Numismatic Association show. I could put these banknotes in there, and I could include those little tiny 5 pences from the Isle of Man, and that whole coin I have from, I think it's Bermuda, where the hole in the coin is actually the hole for the golf cup. That might be something I have to do. Let's look at this one again. This one commemorates the Royal and Ancient Golf Club of St. Andrews. And here's the arms over here of that. And here's a unique prefix here. You have R and A. And in fact, you have the ampersand here in the middle. So that's an interesting symbol. It's almost, to me, as interesting as a Bermuda onion as a prefix on the other note. So if you turn it over, there's old Tom Morris, bless his soul. And here's a picture of St. Andrews, I'm guessing, the Royal and Ancient. And here's that trophy that Jack Nicklaus was bearing, on his commemorative. There's some players and there's some crossed clubs. Kind of interesting, but not completely. I'm still not completely convinced that golf is something that's ever going to mean more to me than an easy date where I can just miniature golf and putt around a miniature course. The next note I have for you commemorates the Queen's Golden Jubilee, and it is a 5-pound from Scotland as well. And you can see the serial or prefix is TQGJ, the Queen's Golden Jubilee. There's a symbol of the event, and on the back is one of my favorite notes. For whatever reason, I love the Queen, and I get sad when I think that it's going to be eventual that she's no longer with us, but I treasure her. Even though she doesn't even know who I am, I treasure her presence in this world and enjoy that she's a part of it. The logo is represented over here, and here's a friendly, laughing engraving of the Queen, and there's a serious one from the beginning of her reign. And I don't think that they know what picture this comes from. So if anybody happens to know the picture they took this engraving from, there's a lot of collectors in the world who would like to know this. Peter Sims of Australia would really like to know what photographic image this provided the source for this banknote. It's truly impressive, and not only was her Golden Jubilee impressive, but 10 years later, her Diamond Jubilee was impressive. And next year, her Platinum Jubilee. I have no doubt I'll be getting another Royal Bank of Scotland note for that one. This one is a 10-pound, and it shows the logo for the event, along with the serial prefix TQDJ, the Queen's Diamond Jubilee. And on the back of this note is a fantastic representation of the Queen over the years. You have a current image of the Queen. You have a classic image of the Queen. You have the picture of the Queen. I believe it's supposed to be with her kids, and there's an even earlier picture of the Queen there. And there's the thistles. I don't know. It's a beautiful note. Beautiful. Love it. Absolutely love it. And the final note I want to share with you in this fancy banknote prefix is also of Scotland, and it is a 20-pound banknote, and it commemorates the 100th birthday of Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, on the 4th of August, the year 2000. And there's a Tudor crown, I believe. The crown she wore as consort when she was crowned Queen of England next to King George VI. And it has one of the longest prefixes I've ever seen on a banknote. QETQM. Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, before the serial number. Pretty cool. And on the back of the note, we had the lovely Scottish lady herself. Queen Elizabeth, Lady Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon. There's the rose that was named after her. And there's Glamis Castle, the castle she grew up in, that Shakespeare immortalized on at least one occasion. And a picture of the Queen Mother when she was but a little girl. When this note was issued, they made a single specimen of an extremely high-valued denomination which they presented to the Queen. So somewhere out there, there is a note with a similar design, with a much larger denomination and a printing of just a single note. That'd be a note I'd love to have in my collection, even if I just had it for a day. But it's a note I doubt I'll ever have, but it's one I hope I get to see someday. So there you go, folks. These are banknotes that have fancy serial number prefixes. I'm sure these are not the only ones that exist in the world, but I certainly hope that you would feel free enough to add to the list and like me in the comments. Make some comments. You can cuss or you can discuss, and we can go forward from there. Please like and subscribe, and have a jewel of a day.